Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, everyone, please start taking your seats because we're about to start in 2 minutes. Grab a piece of pizza and a drink, and please start taking your seats. Thank you. Please take your seats. We're about to start. There should be enough seats for everyone. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to OWASP London Chapter Meetup. We are live on YouTube tonight here in this wonderful venue at Thought Machine. My name is Stepanyan, for those of you who don't know who I am. There are 3 chapter leaders at OWASP London, myself, Andra Letza. Andra, would you stand up and wave your hand? We also have Sharif Mansour, but Sharif unfortunately is off sick today. If you are going to tweet about this event tonight, we encourage you to do it. Please use hashtag OWASP London and mention us at OWASP London, then we will retweet your images. Agenda for tonight, I'm going to do a quick introduction to OWASP, share with you some latest news on our conferences and some cool projects, provide you with some updates. Then we're going to have George talking about E2E detection testing, followed by Q&A. George's talk is a short lightning talk. Then we're going to have Ras talking about 5 open source security tools all developers should know about, followed by Q&A. Then we're going to have a 10-minute break. After that, we have Vangelis Stykas, who has kindly changed his flights and arrived a few days early because he was supposed to speak at B-Sides London on Saturday, but he is here tonight, which is fantastic. Thank you very much, Vangelis. And he will talk about I Will IDOR Myself In, which is a talk about API security vulnerabilities in everything you can think of, smart locks, electronic vehicle chargers, and other Internet of Things devices, and how easy it is to hack into these things because API security is not there. Followed by Q&A, and then we're going to have a game of Kahoot and more drinks. So for Kahoot, you will need to be registered, and I believe we will have the registration slide on the screen a bit later. So we're going to have Kahoot on screen, and we will be having drinks until 9 p.m. because at 9 p.m. we have to vacate this venue because the cleaners are going to come in, and then we're going to go to the pub called Marquis Cornwallis, which is literally 2 minutes walk away around the corner. So that is the plan for tonight. During the Kahoot, the winner of the Kahoot will get this lovely Apple HomePod, right? The big one, not the mini one, I believe. And this prize is kindly sponsored by JIT.io. So who is here for the first time? Please raise your hand. Oh, lots of you. Amazing. Thank you. Just somehow you managed to find us. To make sure you don't miss the next event, you need to follow us. And to follow us, you can, first of all, sign up to the old-fashioned mailing list, which you can find on our website at owasp.org/London. You can follow us on Twitter, OWASP London, like us on Facebook, on Meetup, on Eventbrite, on LinkedIn. We are OWASP London everywhere. We also have a channel on OWASP Slack. If you need a Slack invite for OWASP Slack, please come and see me, or just go to owasp.org/Slack/invite and enter your email address to be invited to OWASP Slack. We are also live streaming this on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel called OWASP London. Please do subscribe because we publish the videos of all past events, all the talks, and you can sign up. Now, a bit of announcement. I'm not sure if Ben is here. How many people know Naham Sekho? Ben Sadegipur? Yeah, he's a very famous and cybersecurity. So rumor has it he's going to turn up later in the pub. So he was actually quite keen to join us and meet London OWASP community. Now, I cannot deny nor confirm, but yeah, hopefully so watch out for him later on. Now let me see if I can play my video about OWASP. 1 second. Let's see.
OWASP is a nonprofit that stands for the Open Web Application Security Project. OWASP is a community of developers, technologists, and evangelists improving the security of software through tools and resources. OWASP has 100+ active projects, and new project applications are submitted weekly. Projects are open source and are built by our community of volunteers, people just like you. Community and networking. There are hundreds of local chapters worldwide and thousands of members. Meetings are free and open to everyone. They include training, talks, and networking opportunities. Education and training. OWASP hosts many events each year. They are a great way to improve your skills, build your professional network, and learn about new trends in the industry. One of the many ways you can get involved is to become a member. The membership benefits include discounts for events and trainings, your own OWASP email address and Google Workspace access, a vote in our OWASP Global Board elections. And recently, OWASP added a brand new member benefit, access to hands-on application security training through the OWASP Secure Flag Open Platform. Join us and become a member today.
Now about the benefits. So you have seen a few benefits mentioned here. We actually have Yogesh from Secure Flag today. If you become a member, Yogesh, can you stand up? Yay. There he is. So Secure Flag is a training platform for developers and for hackers as well. And it is available for everyone who joins OWASP as a member. We also have some other benefits like AppSec Phoenix community access. I'm not sure if Francesco is here yet, but he will be here later on. You can have a chat with him. Also, other benefits include security journey training and also Ubiq, which is software as a service encryption platform. OWASP membership for individuals costs $50 a year right now, or $20 a year for students. There's also sponsorship available for organizations. So if you represent the company, would you like to become our sponsor and have your logo featured on OWASP.org website, and also, of course, highlight your support of application security and our open community, you can do it as well. You can find out how to become a member and actually join if you go to OWASP.org/membership. There are 2 tabs for individuals and for corporates. Now, obviously, OWASP membership benefits were already highlighted in the video that I played. Of course, some of the important things to mention there is it's also a donation to OWASP Foundation. And of course, it gives you a right to vote in the OWASP board member elections. But there's one other benefit which I do personally, because I have a stash of limited edition OWASP member stickers, which you can see on the screen. And quite a few of you already signed up. I see some smiling faces in the audience who got that sticker. And yes, if you sign up tonight to become an OWASP member and show me the confirmation from Stripe that you've now become an OWASP member, I will give you this wonderful sticker for your laptop. Next, we have a screen with all the OWASP supporters, with lots of companies supporting OWASP. And again, we would like to thank all of them. And if you would like to join, please let us know as well. So the companies that you see on the screen right now, they're all supporters of OWASP London specifically. We would like to say a big thank you to them. I know quite a few of them are in the audience tonight as well, so please do talk to them. And of course, if you'd like to sponsor our events as well and have your logo featured, please do come and talk to me. Now, these are the organizations who hosted us in the past. And for those of you who missed our last event last month, we were actually added a brand new hosting space, which was TikTok London headquarters, which was quite an interesting place. But for now, let's thank Thought Machine for this wonderful venue, pizza and drinks. Thank you. Okay, for those who become a member, just a quick update that we have a membership portal that they can use. But here's another thing that I've started doing this year, is you also get tonight a free proof of attendance NFT. So if you have a crypto wallet, you can collect exclusively from me a digital proof of attendance NFT, this little sticker, which will stay in your crypto wallet and also on the blockchain forever, proving to everyone that you were here tonight. If you don't have a wallet, you can just download any open source wallet. Trust Wallet is one of the wallets that you could use, for example, and then come to me and I will give you a one-time QR code to collect this NFT. So this proof of attendance NFTs become a bit of like a Pokemon. You got to catch them all. We already had 8 events this year, and we had an NFT for every single one of them. You can see 3 of them are different because they are capture the flag tournaments or secure coding tournaments. You can see they are different from the regular meetups. So yeah, once you start collecting them, we will start providing some interesting continuation for people who have this and show us, because we might be able to provide some other benefits to them as well. Another mention of a OWASP merch store. We have a merchandise store. Everything that you buy from there is a donation to OWASP Foundation. As you know, in 2021, there was a 20th anniversary of OWASP. So we have quite a lot of merch dedicated to that, and just a standard merchandise with OWASP logo. And a bit of a personal news for those of you who don't know, I was actually nominated to the OWASP Global Board, and people voted for me, so I'm now on Global Board. Thank you very much. Big thank you to everyone who voted for me. So I will be on the OWASP board for the next 2 years, of course, helping to shape the direction and strategy of OWASP. Now, news about conferences. We have next year a great big OWASP Global AppSec conference in Lisbon at the end of June, last week of June. The sponsorship pack, I know there are a few people want to sponsor here. So sponsor pack will be published on the website very soon, I think next week. Early bird registration are already open, because it's always good to register early because you'll get a discount. And for those of you who would like to speak and present at this big global conference, we expect, I think, over 900 attendees there. The call for papers will open on February 20th. So please go visit the Global AppSec Lisbon website to make sure that you submit your talk proposal. And then the next big Global AppSec conference is going to be in San Francisco in September at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. And call for papers for that is not open yet, but the registration is open. So again, if you'd like to go and visit sunny San Francisco in September and join OWASP there for 2 days of lots of talks. I think there's usually 4 tracks at these conferences. Please do so. Now, another big news about past conferences. So we had OWASP Global AppSec Singapore and Washington, DC, which happened in October. And on October, and the videos are already being published on OWASP YouTube channel, OWASP Global. So I know we now entering the Christmas period, right? So if you're bored of watching all the Christmas movies and Netflix, there's lots of educational talks that you can watch. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of videos, and new videos are being added daily. Please go and check out OWASP Global YouTube channel and watch lots of fantastic talks and keynotes from the industry leaders. Of course, then I want to talk about some of the OWASP projects. We have more than 250 free and open source projects in our inventory, and some updates on the projects. Again, for those of you who don't know, we have a big announcement of OWASP Top 10 for large language models. AI is now the hottest topic right now. And how do you secure it? How do you know, right? OWASP has the answer. We have top 10 and we have another project. There's a QR code here that you can scan to access this project if you want. And we have another brand new resource for securing AI, something called OWASP AI Exchange. So this is a website called owaspai.org, which talks a lot about AI security threats and how do you navigate them and different levels of maturity in your approach to securing AI. Then there's one more project for which we actually have a project leader here, OWASP DepScan. Prabhu, can you raise your hand? Hey. So Prabhu just released, Prabhu is the project leader, OWASP DepScan, which is the next generation software composition analysis tool, absolutely free and open source, which can scan your software and find out all the dependencies. And it's specifically built to be quiet, as Prabhu is saying, because it's not going to give you lots of noise. It's only gonna alert you if there are real actionable vulnerabilities in your dependencies, which are actually vulnerable and actually reachable. So go and check it out. The version 5 is now out. It's absolutely amazing. Prabhu presented a talk about this new OWASP tool at our last event at TikTok. Some of you I know probably missed this. The talk recording is available on our OWASP London YouTube channel. Now, tonight, there's quite a lot of you. Myself and Andra, we're going to share a microphone and ask the questions. Basically, we will collect Q&A from you. If you have a question during the talk, please use Slido service. So you go to Slido on your mobile phone and use OWASP as the event code. You can ask any question you want, and we will put it on the screen and ask speakers to answer these questions first before we start taking questions from the audience. So next, I have George speaking to us about E2E detection testing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite George onto the stage. And while he's setting up, I will... You have my screen back. Okay, yeah, sure, because I will need to share George's presentation. 1 second. We'll need to get this one. This is the one. And slideshow. Yeah, and you have your clicker here, George. Let me just turn it on and turn it off. Right. So while George is setting up, just a few words about him. So George is a security engineer here at Thought Machine, and his work includes securing Kubernetes clusters, container security, intrusion detection, security testing, and implementing security policies. George participated in various capture the flag competition, and he had some CTF achievements, including Deloitte CTF qualifier, Scottish University Cybersecurity Challenge, and Hack Harvard 2018. So George actually has OSCP. He's an offensive security certified professional, which is great. And he's got his BSc degree in computer science and mathematics from University of Edinburgh. And currently you're doing master's part-time. Is that right, George? There you go. The stage is yours. Welcome.
This one will do. There I was thinking I'd have to introduce myself. Thank you very much, Sam. And yeah, also, thank you very much, Sam, for bringing OWASP back to Thought Machine. So we hosted 2 of these last year, one in September, one in December, which were much less well attended than this one. Good to see you all. And yeah, we enjoyed doing that, and we're happy to do it again. And hopefully everything goes well this evening, and we'll keep doing this for the foreseeable future. And yes, also congratulations on your election to the global board.
Thank you.
Right. Oh yeah. You all will have noticed, based on the banner of the event, and also from the thing that Sam just used to introduce me, the photo I have as my current LinkedIn profile, it was taken in 2019. It is old. I look like a child in it. Please, someone take a decent photo of me this evening. Right. Without further ado, yeah, this is me. I was going to talk about who I am, but it doesn't seem necessary now. So a word about the company that I currently work for, Thought Machine. We do core banking in the cloud. We are a cloud-native organization. We run essentially a big old database on massive Kubernetes clusters that serves as a bank as a service. And I work within the threat operations team within Thought Machine. We run a detection and response operation that is responsible for our corporate assets, our CI/CD, Cloud Infra, of course, but most notably and most fun, real money transactions moving over our workloads in Kubernetes in our banking operations for our SaaS clients. The kinds of log sources we deal with are listed there. We have all of our Macs, all of our Kubernetes API events, all of our cloud API events, and many, many more that I will try not to divulge on a call that is recorded. Yeah, that'll do for that. So let's do a little scoping for the talk that I'm about to give, because you can do something arbitrarily massive when you're talking about something like detection and response. So our motivation is the same as any team running a detection and response operation. We want to maximize true positives and minimize the false positives and false negatives when it comes to the detection and the response aspect. So if you're a SOC analyst or you've ever been one, then these will be familiar to you. Seeing fewer of these is probably what you would consider to be a strong metric of success. Yeah, we're not here to talk about those. We are mostly here, so the scope of this talk is mostly concerned with false negatives and the rate of false negatives, which is to say the events that occurred and you didn't see, or well, you didn't alert on. Seeing that figure fall is the way to be confident that you have an effective detection operation. So there are 2 major angles you could approach this objective from. One is coverage, so making sure you have lots of detections. And the other is making sure that the detections that you do have work, i.e. reliability engineering. So that's our scope. Specifically the reliability engineering half. We're not going to talk about the coverage half. The coverage half is like something else. So to those who've ever had the fun task of architecting a detection architecture, you'll recognize this for what it is, which is the full journey of all the way from an event occurring, whatever it may have been, to an alert being generated. The point of putting it on a slide in this fashion is to illustrate how long it is, and like this, yeah. And only one step on this needs to fail in order for a suspicious event to not generate an alert. And to make matters worse, this is, again, for anyone who has ever architected a large and scaled logging architecture, you'll know that this is a simplification, a gross simplification. For instance, that log parsing step there with Vector or Filebeat or Logstash, or whatever your choice log parsing, log shipping tool is. I mean, to suggest that that happens only once is wishful in the extreme. many of these steps are probably repeated and interlinked. So reliability engineering for this is quite difficult. So we write tests, but do you feel confident that you could test every single item on there? You would want to, you would aim to, but do you feel confident that you have? When a pipeline gets this long, it warrants end-to-end testing, which is the motivation of the talk I'm giving. Yeah. Trouble is, in the domain of detection engineering, I'm not really aware of a standardized approach to detection testing, end-to-end detection testing, that is. There are notions, there are tools that come close, but not quite. So, what does an end-to-end test look like for a detection? So this is the question that was on my mind when stuck on a flight with no internet, flying back from a short holiday. And like throughout the course of that flight, I basically came up with this wheel while I was there. I was like, okay, we need a binary that's gonna trigger a synthetic suspicious event. It's gonna be like something interesting, something like a spicy looking AWS API call. It's gonna be the call to encrypt your data, to alter your KMS keys, which is like a dead giveaway ransomware or something like that. Okay, you're going to trigger that event, and then you start polling your seam. And if you find the alert, then in whatever index you're keeping your alerts in, then cool, great. Close the alert and report everything in like a JSON blob at the end. And whenever you find failures, run this as a cron job. Run this every night. Why wouldn't you run it as often as you like? And whenever you encounter failures, use those failures to drive a change and improvement. Got off this flight, messaged the gentleman to my left, Marco, and said, Marco, like I've had this fantastic idea. And he was like, buddy. As with every great idea I've ever had, it has, of course, been done. And the guys to do it were a group called, the guys who run the SIEM Datadog, and they called it Threat Test. It's pretty neat. It does exactly what I just said. The only nuance that I didn't pick up on when I was on my flight, and also, but these guys did work out and did address during the process of what they were doing, is that you need to be quite clever on the question of making sure that you close the right alert. The way to do that is to inject a UUID, universally unique identifier. You've got to find some way when you trigger the event to get that into the log that is generated and subsequently into the alert that is raised. And that makes it possible to certainly uniquely identify the alert that was raised and therefore know that you are closing exactly the right one. Because the worst thing this could do is go rogue and close all of your alerts, or close none of them. Yeah, so the threat test binary works exactly as I said. It has this set of so-called detonators, which serve to trigger the suspicious events, synthetic suspicious events that I mentioned in this slide. And as for the search for it in the SIEM aspect, that's also modular, and that's handled by something called matchers. So as it exists at the moment, threat test has a matcher for the Datadog SIEM, funny that. And it has detonators associated with running commands on your own machine, running commands executed over SSH, making AWS API calls, and something called Stratus Red Team, which is this excellent little suite of tools that will do something called atomic red teaming, which is setting off precise, discrete, suspicious events. Of course, when I discovered this after Marco burst my bubble, I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine. Like, we've got some work to do to implement this. Then, like, we can put this in our SIEM. Like, this sounds like something we should have. Yeah, there's a problem. We don't use Datadog. We are an Elasticsearch house. We're ELK people all the way down, for better or worse. So if I want to use Datadog, if I want to use threat test, then I need to write a new matcher. So this matcher needs to be capable of querying Elasticsearch for alerts. It needs to be able to hit the index in which alerts are stored. It needs to validate whether any of them contain this UUID, which I mentioned. And yeah, they're there, pass the test, and automatically close the alert. So reach out to the detections and alerting API. So to give some of this a little bit of flavor, this is what one of these would actually look like. This is how it would actually manifest. These things are arranged into the so-called scenarios. A scenario can be defined as a YAML document, and this will contain a detonator and quote unquote expectation, in which you will find your chosen matcher. And yeah, it's a reasonably self-explanatory slide, I think. Righto. And this is some sample output taken from straight from the README of threat test. This is what you would see. This is what you get, and this is what failure looks like. Note the third one is actually a failure. A non-failure. Okay, cool, fine. You know at some point it failed. The scope of this tool is not to tell you what failed. It's just to tell you that something failed. It is up to you still to go and investigate. Yeah. So that is really all I had to talk about, because I'm afraid this is just a lightning talk. If I had done more work, then this could be a full-length talk, but I haven't. So there we are. So future work is to productionize this, get my currently outstanding pull request merged in with the consent of the guys maintaining the threat test repository. Look into the prospect of additional detonators. So currently there aren't. So while you can, so courtesy of the local command execution and the shell commands executed by their SSH, sure, you can execute arbitrary suspicious events courtesy of that. You could make calls out to the AWS API, or you could make kubectl calls from there if you wanted. But it's not that smooth an experience. It's not that nice. So it would be very nice if we had some Kubernetes detonations built into it, because Kubernetes is very much what we do. The HTTP request bit there concerns, again, better integrations for making arbitrary HTTP requests to web server endpoints, simply because this is how quite a few services around our organization may well be exposed, and that is potentially the kind of suspicious event we'd like to be able to generate. The other aspect is, though we're not going to drive this, we would also love to see, much as the guys at Datadog were open to seeing new matches introduced, we would also love to see more organizations introducing new matches. The obvious candidates being Splunk, Sumo Logic, and someone I know mentioned Graylog. So that's how that got into there. And just to make it a little bit more user-friendly, the current repository has got a bit of a steep learning curve associated with it. It would be good to see some scenario starter packs so you could deploy this fairly swiftly out of the box. And the final item of future work is more of a culture thing for our organization, which is to see an experiment take place where we truly do test-driven development for detection engineering, which is to say we don't start with an idea of a detection or an alert. We start by writing a threat test scenario. We run it, it fails, and then we don't stop. We don't consider our work to be done for that week, or for at least on that detection, until that test is passing. Truly test-driven development. Right, that's all I had. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Yeah, we have one from Prabhu.
Thank you. This is very inspirational. Actually, I will go check out threat test. I have some experience doing these sort of things manually. Like these are kind of known things. Like you test the testers, you evaluate your SOC teams, and so on. The issue usually is like if you go back a few slides to that.
Where am I going to?
To that curl slide, the previous one.
This one?
Yeah.
Sure.
So hackers are not going to execute a curl command. So the way they would do it is they would look for a SSRF vulnerability or an RCE, and they will send a gadget. So it'll be the application that will be making a call to these metadata service and so on. So the traffic will appear as if it's coming from a legitimate microservice or an application. So how deeper can these tools go? Can they identify?
So be more precise about the kind of attack that you're proposing that someone would be launching against.
So for example,
application.
SSRF, server-side request forgery. So I know an application accepts a URL endpoint and is going to open that endpoint, right? So then I will pass the metadata as the parameter to that application.
So this feels more like a question about the quality of where we have detections and high quality logging. So if, say, the web app was only accessible through an endpoint that we controlled, then we could look at what commands were being run on that device, and we could therefore see the interesting looking command. That's one way we could pick this up. We could also have very good application logging so that we were seeing HTTP requests incoming and we were logging everything in that sense. I think that might be a bit extra, but and so in that scenario, then I guess how you might use threat test to sort of better motivate better detection in engineering would be to write a scenario that, precisely as I said with HTTP requests, like sends an interesting looking HTTP request that qualifies as SSRF, or cool. I don't know if that really answers your question.
Yeah, I think you're getting there. Thank you.
There's one more question here.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm curious in practice what kind of scale or volume you run these detonators at. I imagine you might anticipate issues where in this big long chain, your pipeline from the event through to the alert, you may have issues where some small fraction of events are lost due to timing issues or under load or something. Are you doing this once per day, or are you doing like a large stream of these things all the time?
Okay, so I'm going to stress the first bullet point there, which is productionize. This isn't ready. But when it is, I anticipate this being a nightly job that would run pretty early in the morning for our security engineering team here. So it maybe run like 5, 6 a.m. And it'll become part of the business as usual work for our so-called interrupt, or whoever our analyst of the day is, to come in and review which tests are failing or which are succeeding. I don't know how large a suite will run, but the issue that you were kind of touching on is that, as I mentioned, this is a long old pipeline, and any interruption or any timeout on any stage could result in failure. Well, okay, if it failed then for the threat test, then it would fail for the real thing as well, which is a problem. So any failure needs to be treated as an issue. As for how long you would continue to poll for, that's a configurable parameter. So you can actually see in here under the expectations for the first one and for the second one, actually. So you have 1 minute, 15 minutes. Depending on what kind of event you're triggering, it might take longer or less time for the alert to arrive. And that's a reasonable expectation. Like, we don't have amazing SLAs from all of our log sources. So like some of them do take a while, and we would be prepared to just wait. Like, it's fine. Like the binary I envision running as a cron job, Kubernetes cron job, that it'll wait for as long as I specify the timeout to be. And if that's an hour, I hope it's not, but if it is, then it's an hour. But that's more a question of like the SLAs associated with our log sources, really. And we kind of we take what we can get there.
Thanks, George. We have one more question here at the back.
Hey man, good talk. So assuming you get to productizing it, producing it, so when you actually go live, a part of a precursor is then to work with the engineering teams to look at the threat models they have built, and the reverse engineering of existing models which you have to understand what could go wrong, the abuse cases and the misuse cases, or that attack cases. I think that goes with what you're doing.
Yeah, that was not a question, but cool. Yeah, I agree with what you have to say. It would be good to first motivate what we look for by assessing our components' threat models, and to use that to motivate what scenarios we choose to write in threat test, and subsequently what detections we opt to build. and we'll work with teams to build suitable validation.
Any more questions? No. No. Okay, let's thank George for a great talk. Thank you. Right, let me invite, do you have the clicker? Yes. Right, let me invite Ras Probstein on stage. She's our next speaker. While she's setting up her slides, I will introduce her. So some people might recognize Ras already because she spoke at the OWASP event in August when the weather was much nicer and sunnier. Ras is actually quite a cool lady because she served as a young ambassador to the State of Israel, and she was also headhunted and selected as a young researcher at the prestigious Weizmann Institute for Multidisciplinary Scientific Research. So today she is at JIT, where she is a solution engineer, and previously she also was a full stack engineer and programmer in Python, JavaScript, C, C#, and doing some interesting work at the IDF Unit 81. Some people might know what that is. Those she helped there to mentor women serving in cybersecurity and helping to drive more women and make the cybersecurity units of IDF more diverse. And today she's studying biotechnology at the Open University and quite passionate about building cloud-native security tools that developers will love. And today she's presenting the top 5 open source security tools all developers should know about. Welcome, Ras.
So, hi. I will do my own introduction, but thank you, Sam. So hi, it's awesome being here. I love those OWASP events. It's nice to see some folks from the community, some friends, and for the new folks, welcome. It's the best community you can join. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sam. I hope you're enjoying this great event, talks. The pizzas are great, and also you have some cookies with the JIT logo on, so it's cool. I know it's a bit of a tough hour. It's late in the evening, but I will try to wake you up, and hopefully I'll succeed. Tell me at the end, okay? So let's get started. And today we'll talk about the 5 open source security tools that all developers should know about. Now, as promised, before we dive in, I'll do my own quick introduction. So I'm Probstein. I'm a solution engineer at JIT. I've actually been a full stack engineer for many years, and I joined JIT a little over a year ago as a full stack engineer. And after about 8 months at this position, I've decided that I want to mix things up a bit, and I became a solution engineer. I'm also studying for my bachelor's degree in biotechnology. I'm a big foodie and I love to travel, so it's great we're in London. That's about me. I want to tell you a bit about JIT as well. So JIT is an open DevSecOps orchestration platform. We're helping modern dev organizations own their application security without hurting the dev velocity. We're automating the best of breed open source security tools. We love the open source community. And we're integrating security to your entire life cycle. So the code, the infrastructure, the CI/CD pipeline, and runtime. And everything, of course, is done with little to no effort. So that was the introduction. And now we can really get started. And we'll start by taking a look at this example project. Now, just by looking at it, we see a usage in Python, in Terraform, we see Docker files, we see multiple DB queries, we see multiple API endpoints. Now, those are all extending our potential attack surfaces. And this basically means that the developers must take responsibility for the code they're writing. Just like, no developer would deploy an untested code to production, with fear of breaking bugs. You can only hope they're doing it. Developers need to make sure that the code is secured before they're deploying it as well. Security should be a concern to developers because they're the first line of defense when it comes to our systems. So for this talk today, we're going to cover the 5 categories of tools that we need to consider. We're going to talk about how we actually evaluate an open source security tool. And after we set the baseline, we'll dive into each and every one of those categories and we'll analyze the relevant tools. And of course, I'll share our recommendation based on our experience at JIT, because we have evaluated, tested, and benchmarked so many open source tools. And I'm excited to share with you guys today the results. Then we will get into how to leverage those tools. We'll talk a bit about the challenges as well, some cool metrics. And for the grand finale, we'll talk about how to take it to the next level. So, starting with our first topic, we have 5 categories of tools we need to consider. Basically, when we're thinking about developers-related security, this is what needs to come to mind. So code scanners, in order to protect our code and data, such as SAST and secret detection. We need to have dependency checkers as well to cover our libraries. And we need to have infrastructure as code scanners to protect and validate our infrastructure configuration. We also need to have some container scanning to protect our packaging. And finally, we need to have runtime scanning, basically to ensure that we're covered and safe in runtime as well. So how do we evaluate an open source tool? We need to have one set of key metrics to measure by. So no matter the tool, no matter the category, this is what we need to do. So we thought those are the great and most important factors to go. Results quality. Results quality for developers, this reigns supreme. It's got to be good, first and foremost. You should potentially accept this over everything else that you do. Dev experience needs to be huge speed, ergonomics, integrated into CI, customizability. I think tools needs to be customizable in order to produce truly meaningful results, and not so many tools allow you to change them, so this is something to notice. Maturity, don't pass over the good and young stuff. They could be better than the old supported stuff. Now, let's dive into each and every one of those factors. We'll start with the results quality. And results quality is related to false positive, false negatives. And for this one, I want to share a story that I've heard from a friend of us that is related to exactly this kind of false positive and negative. His security team felt like the tools that they've been using missed some secrets. But those secrets were actually an example placeholders. Now, in the developer's view, those aren't actual secrets, right? But technically, it was hard-coded credential. So this is exactly what we need to think about. We need to play off of those two perspectives. What is true positive? Was it true negative for both the security team and the developers? You need to validate the tools by running on your code. And you're probably asking why? Because all of us vendors, we adapt the rules and the performance to sample project. Now, this is artificial. So you need to run multiple tools and you need to run it on your code, compare the results in order to truly understand the different things that they can catch. Of course, when you are using your real code, please do that on the same version, the same branch, to have an actual process that is properly running. It's 2 screens here, so it takes time. Developer experience perspective, you need to run everywhere that the developer work. So the terminal, the IDE, in the CI, this is what we need to think about. The tool must be fast. And I'm talking, quicker than testing the CI, few seconds locally, because we never want to hurt the dev velocity. If we'll hurt the dev velocity, we won't have any adoption. So it's just a waste of process. The results need to be human readable or machine consumable, because developers don't want to work hard to understand what we want from them. I know, I've been a developer myself. So think about this as well. You need to be able to run the tool by yourself, because we need to make sure that we're allowing the developers to do that alone. They don't need to be dependent, not on the security team and not on anyone else for that matter. Now, maturity. And again, here we're not talking about who is the vendor of the tool, because a big name does not necessarily mean more mature or more accurate. We need to look at the popularity of the tool, the active contribution and involvement around this tool. And customizability. I'm a big fan of providing flexibility because people have specific needs. And being able to tailor security into your unique needs, this is extremely important. That's why at JIT, we're providing a generic yet opinionated framework to orchestrate the various tools, but we're still allowing the developers and the users to configure it to their specific needs. All right, a quick check-in. How are we all doing? I hope I woke you up a bit, because we talked about the categories, we talked about the factors, we have the foundations and the basics, and I hope this is making more sense now in terms of the different aspects, the areas, the tools we need to cover, and you have a better understanding on how to do each of those evaluation and why are they important. And I know, and I hope that you know right now how to actually do the evaluation, not just why. All right, so we've covered the basics. Let's start by analyzing the tools from each and every one of those categories. We'll start with the first one, which is code scanners. Now, the mission when we're using code scanners is to identify vulnerabilities and security defects in the code when we're writing the code. Today, we're going to host some matches, some combat and battles. So for this one, those are the competitors for the best code scanner. And our recommendation is open source SemGrep. Now, let's evaluate it together. In terms of results quality, it has over 2,000 rules that include other tools to extend the coverage. So like Git leaks and GoStack. It has support for over 30 languages. This basically means that it enhances the efficacy of the tool. Now, this is an example of secret scanning using open source SemGrep with Git leaks rule set. This is the prompt to trigger the scan, and this is how the results look like. From a DevX perspective, you can run SemGrep open source everywhere, in the CLI, as part of your CI/CD, in a Docker container, and in the IDE as well. It's very fast, so no compilation needed here. And in terms of customizability, it's very extensible. It has many output formats, and it's super easy to write rules to, so you don't need a PhD to do that. Finally, maturity-wise, wait, just making sure it's synced. SemGrep open source has a large community of active contributors. It has many years of development around it, so it's good. This is what we like. Let's move on to the next battle of the day, which is dependency checkers. Now, the mission here is to detect publicly disclosed vulnerabilities in the various components that we're using. Those are the competitors of this match. And our recommendation is OSV Scanner. Now, this is a recent tool that is maintained by Google and is supporting most of the package managers. Now, let's evaluate it together. In terms of results quality, it leverages the OSV DB. It has support for over 13 languages, so it's good, we like it. From a DevX perspective, it uses the OSV schema, and here as well, the developer can run it everywhere. And we've mentioned before, this is what we want. Now, when it comes to customizability, we can specify the scan to specific SBOM and log files, which is good. And we have multiple scanning options like recursive scan, and we also have the ability to ignore, which is great for developers. Maturity-wise, it's definitely a growing community, and there is a rise in popularity. Now, let's take a look of an example of a recursive scan using the OSV scanner. This is the prompt to trigger the scan, and this is the results of it. I just wanted to share it with you so you know what to expect, so you know how it looks and feels, so you won't be surprised. Great. So the next battle is infrastructure as code scanners. So the mission here is to detect security misconfiguration in our infrastructure as code and prevent it from reaching our cloud. So it's shifting left, catching the vulnerability as soon as possible. And a quick view of the competitors for this match. I'm gonna let you take a picture. I saw some of you wanted. Great. And we chose Kix. So again, let's evaluate Kix together. Results quality-wise, it has over 2,000 queries with support of 18 frameworks, which is insane. And the rules come with unit tests. This basically means that it improves the trust that we have in this detection. Now, from a DevX perspective, it provides over 200 remediation recipes. Now, this is a huge bonus when it comes to developers, because we all know that developers don't want to handle security, and they must do that in the shift left era that we're in right now. So providing them with a fix goes a long way with developers. And again, you can run it everywhere. In terms of customizability, the queries are written in OPA, and it has the ability to support new frameworks, so it's agile and we like it. This is what we want. Maturity-wise, growing popularity and a growing community of contributors, us included. Now, let's say I want to build an EBS volume in a Terraform, for example, okay? Now, we can see here that the encryption configuration is commented out. As you can see here, it's circled out. Now, if I'm scanning this code using Kix, I get these results that the volume encryption is disabled, and I can see exactly where it is, okay? Where the exact line that is causing this error. All right, another quick check-in. How are we all doing? Are we up? Awesome, do like this so I know you're up. So we covered 3 of the 5 categories. We hosted 3 matches, and we have a few more to go. So I hope you're awake and you're ready for the next one, which is container scanning. Now, the mission for this one is to detect both the vulnerabilities and misconfiguration in the container images. The competitors for this category, those 3. And our winner is Trivi. Here are the results of our evaluation. Let's go over it together. In terms of results quality, it supports container scanning, file system, Git repositories, virtual machines, secrets, and infrastructure as code. And it can generate an SBOM, which we like. DevX perspective, it's fast. You don't need any additional setup. You don't need any additional libraries, and we like it. And of course, you can run it everywhere. Customizability-wise, you can write and run your own detection logic, and you can use plugins to extend the CLI. Lastly, maturity. It's very popular, and it has a large contributors community. Now, here is an example of an output of a Docker image scanning using Trivi. This is the prompt you can use to trigger the scan. And again, a quick view of how the results look like so you know what to expect. Right, moving on to our final category of the day, runtime scanning. The mission in runtime scanning is to detect the vulnerabilities in our web application and our APIs while they're running. Now, those are the contestants for the final match. And we chose Zap. So Zap is one of the most powerful open source pen testing tool out there right now. Used to be an OWASP project, sadly moved to the Linux Foundation, but we'll always love it. So we evaluated Zap, and those are the results. Results quality-wise. Zap has a lot of features, and it detects the OWASP top 10 risk, which we also like because we like OWASP, and it has over 250 rules. From a DevX perspective, you can run it everywhere, including a desktop app, which is very unique for an open source security tool. And you have a headless mode to integrate it into the CI/CD, so you can run Zap as part of your deployment. Customizability, it has over 100 extensions that are available today in the marketplace, and you have plugins to extend the CLI for Zap. Maturity-wise, it's part of GitHub 1000 project, and it has a huge community and a high popularity. Our community is part of it as well. Now, here is a quick example of the result of runtime scanning using Zap. This is the prompt that we use. This is what to expect, as we've mentioned. Now, you can see here that Zap also provides some solution guidelines, and we talked about it. We like it. The developers like it as well. Great. So, just to sum up what we've done so far, Those are our recommendations. For code scanners, open source mgrep is our choice. For dependency checkers, OSV scanner. Infrastructure as code scanner, Kix is our way. For container scanning, Trivi is our winner. And finally, for runtime misconfiguration scanning, Zap. I'll let you a second to take a picture. Okay, awesome. So this was a lot. So a quick check-in again. How are we all doing? Right, so just to kind of go through what we've covered so far. So we talked about the 5 categories of tools we need to consider. We explained why and how to evaluate those tools. And we talked about each and every one of those categories, and we analyzed our recommendations. Now, let's talk a bit about how you can leverage those tools. So I recommend you involve your development team from day one, but do this in baby steps. Start in a small scope and progress from there. Don't start strong. So make sure you're not blocking and interfering the development lifecycle at first. Start by making it optional. So for example, don't integrate it into the CI and then make it a required check right away. Integrate it, but don't block the PRs at first. Get constant feedback from your developers, tune the tools, adjust the settings, and then expand the rollout. Also make sure you have KPIs for your tool testing efforts and keep track of them. This will help you make a decision from a clean and objective place. Now, as we said, we need to keep tracks of the KPIs to ensure proper decision-making. Here are some crucial metrics that I recommend you take under consideration. So the security detection rate, the mean time to resolve, and the exposure windows, all are great metrics and super important. The screenshots that you see here are from our platform because we used it to kind of measure and keep track of those crucial metrics. And now let's talk a bit about the challenges, because we need to talk about them and not just the benefit. So some of the challenges you may face, scaling the rollout of a tool. If you have over 3 projects, things might get a bit tricky here. You may have a hard time get consistent behavior from all the tools across your entire system. Also maintaining all of the tools, keeping them up to date with all the versions and the updates. This might be a pain point. There is also a big challenge in handling the existing code vulnerabilities, what we like to call a backlog, versus preventing the new vulnerabilities to be deployed to production. And the remediations that are provided by the tools might be a hit or a miss, so it's something to pay attention to. Now, as promised, let's talk about taking it to the next level a bit. I think we can all agree that there is a heavy lifting that needs to be done, right, in order to actually evaluate and integrate the security tools to the development lifecycle. This means we have to automate. If this process won't be automated, it's not going to last. It's just a waste of time and money for us. So this is my shameless plug. I just wanted to share us as an example because we automated and integrated over 20 different security tools into our development organization. I also wanted to share us just because to tell you how we handled those challenges. So basically, we codified security plans and we automate them, such as the OWASP ASVS and the AWS FTR, for example. And our engine orchestrates the prepackaged, open source, commercial, and cloud-native tools across the entire environment. So we basically provided ourselves and our users a one-stop shop for the entire product security at the tip of our fingers. And JIT is also automating the evaluation process for you. So this step is taken out of your plate as well. And our mission, the jewel in the crown for us, is making the developers the first line of defense without the actual need for them to be security experts, because no one has the time and money to send them to learn how to do security. And most importantly, we're never hurting the dev velocity. Now, if this is interesting to you, you want to know more, you want our help doing all this process, which could be difficult, please check out our website or reach out to us, jit.io. You can visit us there. I really appreciated the opportunity to talk with you guys today. I'll happily answer any questions you may have offline. I'll be here right after these talks, so please come. Also, please reach out to me. This is my email, my LinkedIn, and my X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it these days. I'm waiting to hear from you guys. And for the exciting Kahoot to win the HomePod Mini, scan this QR code in order to register. We'll do this right after the third talk. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Russ. While people are taking the photo of the barcode, do you want to answer a few questions now? Or you want to be here? So, okay. Great. Right. Okay, everyone. So please take a picture of this. We're going to have a 10-minute break. If you need toilets, go back up where the registration desk was, and the toilets are on the left. There's a door by the plants over there. There's still drinks and pizza available. And obviously there will be a Kahoot after the last talk. So don't go anywhere. In about 10 minutes, we will have the third talk. And after that, we will have the Kahoot.
If anyone else have a problem with the QR, I'll be here. Let's work it together as a community. So you can stop by and we'll help you register.
Okay, everyone, we had a wrong QR code displayed originally. Please scan this QR code to participate in Kahoot after the next talk. Okay, everyone, please start taking your seats. We're about to restart. Okay, everyone, please do take your seats. Let me switch. I'll stop sharing. Vangelis should be able to start now. Okay, everyone, let's take our seats and welcome Vangelis Stykas, who kindly agreed to move his flights. And obviously, he was supposed to speak, well, he will be speaking at B-Sides London this Saturday. Those of you who got lucky to get the B-Sides London tickets will see him presenting a different talk at B-Sides London. But I asked Vangelis if you could present this one because I think this is very, very relevant to OWASP and to API security. I saw Vangelis present this talk at another B-Sides, and you can actually find Vangelis presenting a lot of Internet of Things related talks all over the world at different B-Sides conferences. But thank you very much, Vangelis, for flying into London early, presenting talk at OWASP London. Let's welcome Vangelis.
Hello, everyone. First of all, congratulations, Sam, on your election on the global board. That's a well-reserved election.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vangelis Stykas, and I will do a talk that I have given before. I haven't given it for a long time. It's called I Will IDOR Myself In. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions down the road. Feel free to raise your hand or, I don't know, scream to me, do whatever you feel like. Come on. No? Computers are hard. Give me a second. Okay, nice. So, who am I? I think I am the CTO of Tatropos. Tatropos is a web application security penetration testing firm. I'm a security researcher too. My research interests are mainly API for IoT devices and web application security. And for the past year or so, I'm also the guy who goes after C2 from malware. I think you have seen a lot of people cursing at me, a lot of Russian people cursing at me. So yeah, that's also me. You can find me on Stykas on Twitter or X or whatever the heck it is right now. This is my web page. I don't post regularly, but you can feel free to go there. My favorite interpretation of what an API is MuleSoft interpretation. It stands for Application Programming Interface, a software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other, blah, blah, blah. We all know what an API is. I'm not going to waste your time. It's a really easy way to interact with a DB layer. Write once, use everywhere. People are lazy. Keep that in mind. All of us are lazy. Developers are lazy. We are trying to exploit that laziness. They're meant to be seen by computers and not people, so you're going to see things that you don't really like. But yeah, that's part of being a pen tester or security guy. It's easy to build an API. It is really, really difficult to build a secure API that has no issues at all. The type of APIs that we are going to cover in my talk is REST, GraphQL, SOAP, and non-standard. First, REST APIs, it's 70% of the APIs currently on IoT and internet in general. They're really easy to identify. It uses entities, it's predictable, and as I said, it's the most common, around 70% right now. GraphQL is the new kid on the block. It's Facebook query language. It's easy to identify. It's super easy to enumerate once you know what and how to look at it. It needs some reading on the specifics. It has a custom query language. It returns JSON too, and if it has introspection, then it's an easy win. SOAP. Is anyone using SOAP in here? No? You're a lucky bastard. So, really old school, Microsoft implemented it. Microsoft still supported it up until a couple of years ago. It uses XML for God knows what reason. It has an envelope format. I hate it with all my heart. And then we have custom APIs. Has anyone seen a custom API in here? A custom API, yeah, I know you have seen. So it can return anything. It can be open web sockets. It can be HTML. It can be JSON in XML, in JSON in whatever. It's usually used from proprietary devices and usually medical devices, which you can feel the pain when you see that, right? Quick intro again, documenting APIs. I think all of you have been a developer. You should document your APIs. They're freely available or forgotten. So if you're a pen tester and you find some API documentation that shouldn't be there, you have a treasure that gives you a better understanding of structure and how and where to look at to attack. Where API is used? Everywhere. Only my dog doesn't have an API these days, which I'm not really sure. Industrial IoT, vehicles, mobile application, web application, IoT devices, you name it, it has an API. If it goes to your phone, it has an API. If it goes to your computer, it has an API. It has an API, full stop. Well, back, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when I started becoming a pen tester, everyone says, well, it's just an API. What could you do? Well, I could gain full functionality of all the IoT devices. I could make them do a lot of unintended things. I could punch through firewalls and pivot to internal networks. And when they see that, they then understand what an API is. And I could, if I was really mean, which I'm not, reflash and potentially break devices. Again, SMS attacks, DDoS attacks, ransomware attacks, no need for Sudan. You just look at the freaking platform and you have access to everything. Special place in my heart. This is from my former company that I was working, the sharing APIs. A lot of companies have decided that they want to outsource their APIs. So now you can hack a vehicle and you end up in a bathtub because bathtubs also have APIs for a reason I don't really understand, but again, they be them. A special category, industrial IoT, which is historically isolated. It has a really long lifespan. Some IIoT are older than people that are in here. They're rarely updated, and I mean rarely. They're safety critical. They have a high uptime. Their protocol is unencrypted because back where they were installed, they didn't need encryption or they didn't understand what encryption is. And making it smart usually ends up with some kind of monstrosity that is called IP to RS-232 or IP to whatever, which when you see it, you literally cry because, yeah. Miko, great guy, really good speaker. If it is smart, it's vulnerable, and that's true. So, what's the plan for the talk? I have a OWASP API top 10. I'm gonna do some kind of top 10 of the API top 10. I'm gonna show you the exploitability of some stuff. That's me. I'm a really simpleton. I have decided that I'm gonna take always the quickest route and the simplest route to do anything, and the severity and what it would impact if it was exploited. Vulnerabilities of APIs, IDORs, yada, yada, yada. I think that you all know it. If you haven't looked at the OWASP top 10, go there, read it. It's really interesting, and you should understand what it says. So, this is recorded, right? Okay. CMI and crime alert. API research is really, really, really tricky. Never, ever interact with a device you don't own. If you mistakenly do it, notify the vendor immediately and pray to whatever you feel is holy not to go after you. Platform admin means that you are breaking the CMA, and never do it. Everything that is in red in my talk is breaking the CMA. Can I see your hands? Do you know what the classic IDOR is? IDOR stands for Insecure Direct Object Reference. Only one person knows what IDOR is? Okay, cool. Nice. It's a +1. It's the easiest of all to find. Typical symptom of missing authorization or authentication. UUID or GUID is not a solution because you can always find, not always, but most of the times you can find the GUID, and it could lead into leaking a full data set. Example, Viper. I don't know if you know it, it's a car alarm. You can see in here that I was able to update the user with the user ID. If you see a post request that has a user ID that you could easily deduct for decision, this usually means that this is an IDOR vulnerability. And I could change the password of the user. I could remote control the vehicle alarm functions. I could identify the vehicle and geolocate it in real time. So if I fancy a BMW, because I'm that kind of a guy, I would go there, change the user's password, and take it, unlock it, start, stop, pop trunk, and move on with my life. Project EV, really nice EV charger. Have anyone seen it? It's a really, really nice charger. Do you see anything missing in this request? No one? Like, there's no authorization, no cookie, no anything. You just went there and sent that charge ID, and you could do whatever the hell you wanted. Full functionality on all devices, lock and lock, remote firmware update, PII leak, brick, platform admin, you name it, it was there. So, yeah, you have to know that authorization not equals authentication, or API Jesus is after you. So please authenticate and authorize all your requests. Injections. I hope you all know what injection is. If you don't, you're probably on the wrong conference. Automated ways of finding them. They're rare nowadays, not really rare, but not as rare as I would want, and could lead to remote command execution. Truth spy, that guy sitting there, Felipe found that really nice injection in there. Truth spy was a spyware that was used for spying spouseware, really bad people. I'm not going to give you the SQL injection, but if you feel like going with a quote, you can probably find it. All of it is breaking the CMA. Remote control of all monitor devices, leaking everything, remote command execution on all servers, possible to identify a crime syndicate. You should search on TechCrunch, I think. With that name, you're going to see the whole crime syndicate that was taken down from that SQL injection. What to do to avoid it? Use a modern framework, sanitize your inputs, keep the principle of least privilege, Do not share databases or credentials for any reason. Can anyone guess what a lazy REST implementation is? No? Nice. A lazy REST implementation is when someone is just passing around the whole JSON object as a request. Need to check the response and request. Typical symptom of using a norm lazily. Always need to check for allowed parameters or user input. Could lead into platform admin. Long story short, if you are passing an object and getting the object, check that it has what it should and nothing that should not be there. Another really nice EV charger. So that one, I was passing my first name and it also was accepting roles because for a reason you could set the role. So I tried admin, it didn't accept it. And then it said, no, admin is not a really nice role. You could set account owner and tenant admin, which sounds really nice, tenant admin. Total compromise of everything, PII leakage, all admin functionality, platform admin, server admin, you name it, it was there. The bad thing in here is that all the API of that charger was pristine. It was really nice. It was really good. They really aced the whole API, but they missed only that thing, which was enough to lead to server admin. Take a picture, need to check a response and request. Come on. No. TikTok Tac, a really nice Australian smartwatch for helicopter parents, whatever the hell that means. So API users, filter, family identifier equals with a number. You just change the number and you end up with newest location of someone else's children. So like, and you could also update the location of the child. So you could, you should not. Again, don't steal other people's children, please. But if someone is a criminal, he could steal it and then update the location from there. So after that, what do you do? You should talk with Troy Hunt and his daughter and do that. This is a really, I don't know if. Yeah, you cannot hear it. It's me being creepy. His daughter, Troy Hunt's daughter, looks at the watch that says dad, answers and said, hello, hello, dad. And then you hear someone with a really big Greek accent, me saying hello from the other part. Like, yeah, not my greatest moment in the world. Total compromise of everything, PII leakage, all admin functionality, platform admin. Again, everything in red is a crime. You should not do it. Avoid using functions that automatically bind the client's input. Whitelist only the properties that should be updated by the client. If applicable, explicitly define and enforce schemas for input data payloads. This is my favorite. User group juggling. This is my jewel that keeps on giving. I have done 12 talks just with that thing. User group juggling. Other than that person here, does anyone else know what it is? No? Okay. User group juggling is when you're adding a user to your user group, you then start changing the user groups and see if you can add your user to another group or your group to another user or doing any kind of fuzzing. Multiple ways of user group juggling. Sometimes create is not vulnerable, but editing is. So create a user with your user group, then change his user group to something else and he ends up in another company or, I don't know, in another world. could lead into platform admin accounts takeover. Sonic Wall, they're a security company. And yeah, so you can see here it had the property group ID. And when you change that, you ended up with a lot of things. So you could access routers, firewalls, VPN, a lot more things. Web application firewall, SaaS, whatever you can name it, just with a simple user group juggling. Mimosa, so they use it at Mimosa is an antenna, 5G antenna company that is used especially at certain military stuff. So nice target. Again, post 1, 2, 3, 4 users registration. This is the user group. Let's register a user to another group, and you end up with all users in PII Lake, access to all internal networks, full organization access. They were selling military stuff. Never be lazy, always check for correct authorization, especially on user access functions. The user access function should be fully tested, fully fuzz-free, and you should always check that what you send and what you receive is what you should send and what you should receive. Second level IDOR. This is when the first level of IDOR is correctly defended, but they have a second level in the request that usually is not. Well, at least they try it. As I said, the fact that the check on the first level is there does not mean that it is everywhere. Check every combination possible, could lead into info leak, which is enough to move you around, or account takeover. Wallbox, again, charger, they had the same vulnerability 3 times. What I'm going to show you has happened 3 times. There is a special place in hell just for them. So you can see in here that the access config was correctly checked, so I couldn't check the access config, but the chargers were vulnerable. So I just added all the chargers. I just created a for loop, 1 to, I don't know, 50,000, 50, 100,000, I don't remember, and put it all on my access config. And then I had all the routers in my account. Total control over all chargers, lock, unlock, do anything that you want on the chargers, PII leakage of every user, but yeah. REST verb juggling. This is my least favorite because usually it's not something that gives fruitful results. It is when someone is giving you, you're reading on burp or zap or whatever you're using, a post, change it to put, change it to delete, change it to something else, and see the results. Read and understand all the REST principles. They're really, really interesting and should give you a lot of knowledge. Try to guess what function would not be implemented, and it could lead into a lot of stuff. That talk was first presented in 2021, yeah. So right now, that Pokemon is 3 years old, and it's still not fixed. I'm not going to give you a 0 day because apparently I'm not that person, but there is a charger company that is vulnerable to REST verb juggling. Don't go after them. No 0 days for you, as I said. Never use the full control URL mapping unless you know you will need everything. Always check for proper authorization. I'm just repeating myself now. Hidden endpoints. When you're testing a web application or an Android application or an iPhone application, read the JavaScript, read the source, See for endpoints that you don't see in your interaction. Use automated tools that extract all endpoints. Try to think where corners were potentially cut, and it could lead into a lot of nasty places. Pandora, they said they were unhackable. Spoiler alert, they were not. So in the JavaScript, there was an API/Sputnik/workers endpoint that was never called. It was from their admin panel, and it was used to upgrade the user to a worker, so their employee, and also give them an email of their choice, pandora.ru or whatever. You could use that with the ID of XXXX and set a new email, and then password reset, and the account was yours. Again, geolocate any vehicle, unlock, stop a car, listen to someone from an internal microphone because Pandora had an internal microphone in the car. I don't know why. Profit, that's also red, but yeah, don't do that. SE tracker, I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. Again, helicopter parents, probably the most popular child clock. There was a JavaScript file that was named backup.js, which, yeah, why would you have a backup.js referenced in a map? It went down a rabbit hole of me reading and reading and reading. I ended up with all the source code of the application, which means the JavaScript source code, the Python source code, the Android source code, static keys, SSH password, database configs, remote command execution on 40 servers, and 50 million devices, which you could geolocate any device. You could, I think it's fixed. You should not again. You could send SMS or phone anyone and use it to win Eurovision for a reason, I don't know, but yeah, if you're a fan of it, you could vote anywhere. And you could listen to anyone from a microphone, and those were kids. Hidden endpoints. Charge point, probably the biggest public charge other than Tesla. They had a GraphQL open introspection, stop a car charger, charge for free, PII, pretty much everything was leaked. You could download the whole database of the charge point. They had 300,000 users, I think, at that point. I did not download it because I'm free still, so don't do that. For the hidden endpoints, if you're a developer, keep in mind that people will look and will decompile your application. Always verify proper authentication. Test for broken workflows, both automated, manual. Always when you develop, never, ever, ever trust that the user is going to do what it says it would do. And we're getting to the end. Critical to authorize all requests. Authentication is nothing if you don't check that the request is correctly authorized. If the user is authenticated, it doesn't mean that it is authorized to do what it should. It's rare that something is and that nothing is authorized, really rare. Only one of my examples was not authorized. Usually 1 or 2 requests are the ones that have the problem. And if those are the account requests, it will have severe consequences. It can be a complete compromise of all accounts on a platform. Check that every request is authorized. Again, never, ever, ever trust user input. Any questions? None?
Oh, there should be. Yes.
Thank you. Hi. When you talked about user group juggling, is this the same thing as mass assignment? I couldn't quite read the text on your slides.
Yes.
Same thing. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi. When you talked about second order IDORs, in my opinion, I've always encountered them as a combination of always two requests, but not the scenario in which you mentioned that you were able to inject parameters in the body and that was able to that's what you are baselining. That's the second order. Like in my experience, till I've been doing bug bounty for a very long time. I always find that it's always the combination of two requests that you have to make a macro request out of it. Then it's it becomes exploitable in that kind. Have you encountered the same scenario in which you have to manipulate two requests to get to the second level of IDOR?
More often than not, it's just a single request. There are, depending on how good the developer, not good, how secure was the developer in his mind, you could end up with having to change a number of requests, not only 2, 5, 10. As I said, you should check the workflow. You might have to replay 5 requests and on the 6th request on the workflow, you will be able to have an IDOR.
In your hidden endpoint slide, you mentioned that you use some tools to find the hidden endpoints. So can you recommend some tools that we can use, or if any open source tool?
For burp, there is a URL extractor that gets all the endpoints. For Android, there is a JADX plugin that also does that, and there is a couple of Python requests, Python scripts in GitHub that do that for Android. I think there's also a project for iOS, but I'm not doing iOS testing, so I don't really know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, 2 more. Hang on. Let me.
For chargers, what was the initial access to dashboard? Was it wireless or ZigBee?
I just created an account. I also had to bot most of the charges so that I didn't break the CMA, but you could not. It's not requested. It's not required to create an account. You just create an account, look at the endpoints, and then you move on with the flow.
Very nice presentation, by the way. Can I ask, what's the most one? So let's say, for example, if you talk about, let's say, IoT devices, or for one moment, yes? Which sort of category of IoT devices do you think are really, really easily, basically breakable? I see.
You want the long story? I can have the long story and say that most of the IoT devices that suffer from a rush to market syndrome, and they're rushing the market, so they're cutting corners, and they're not properly penetration testing and properly developed or outsourced, can have security problems. The shorter story is if you see something which is really cheap, it's probably vulnerable. And another from experience, when you start seeing really small requests or really big requests in burp, those are potentially vulnerable.
Any more questions? Yeah, one more.
So you talked about lazy use of ORMs, for example. Seems like a lot of these issues exist because the tools people tend to use to make APIs by default tend to leave these things open, like a patch request allowing you to update properties you shouldn't be able to because that's just how the ORM works by default, but verb juggling maybe not because the frameworks tend to work by explicitly defining what verbs and endpoints exist. Have you noticed any ways of building APIs which tend to result in them being more secure, or tools or approaches that don't tend to lead to so many of these issues by default?
I'm going to repeat myself. You want the long story? Or... Sorry, I'm just joking. So it tends to, the obvious answer is if someone is really confident with his framework and he has enough experience in development, he rarely does that kind of issues, that kind of shortcomings. But as we have seen, and as I have said, a lot of IoTs have rush to market syndrome, which means that they hire a junior developer that has to rush to market and has to do a new requirement, a new feature, and that feature is rarely tested, if not never. So things that are immature or things that are new, or if you want to go after an IoT and you never find something, when they create a new feature, you should test it. Those are the prone to vulnerability.
Any more questions? If not, let's thank
you, guys.
for great talk. Okay, everyone, don't go anywhere because now we have our Kahoot, and Jit brought us this wonderful Apple HomePod Mini. So let me just stop sharing and yeah, 1 second. Right, and I will. Okay. Okay, try to share your screen.
All right, given one more chance to scan because this time the QR actually works. I think that in the meantime, we need to take a selfie. What do you think? Okay. Try to squeeze it. Thank you. Expect to see your faces on social media soon. Once you've scanned the QR, can you just give me a thumb up so I know we can get started? Awesome, 3 there. Well, everyone else is still filling up the form. Great, great. So, how's everyone evening going? Amazing. Kahoot.it. And then you need to enter this game pin. It's very quick and easy. It's just a trivia quiz, 10 questions, and then you can win a HomePod Mini. So I suggest you join. Only 31 by now. We're 150 people here, so come on. Waiting to see a bigger number.
32?
Thank you for the one jump to 32. Great. Anyone else trying to log in and we should wait for them? Oh, it's a bit slow. Maybe we'll share the
Wi-Fi. 2 more
Wi-Fi.
minutes, maybe. Yeah.
The Wi-Fi of the guests here. Maybe we can share it. Sam? Can we?
The password is propeller with an O.
Okay, so that's PROPELLOR. and that's the guest Wi-Fi. We have some people joining and dropping off, probably bad signal.
You need to stay connected to the Kahoot while we're waiting for those who already logged in, because if not, it would ask you to log in again.
It's a live game.
Well, yeah. Good interface going on there. What do you say, Sam? Sam. Anyone else trying to log in? So I'll know. Calling once. Okay, I saw the finger. I'll wait. Okay.
41 people, 42.
I promise you, it's super easy. You're all like security experts. It's gonna be easy breezy for you. "42 people. Come on. I want to see more."
43, 44.
44.
45. Oh, someone is already doing a let one.
Thank you for the 45th person.
Yeah.
Okay,
Script tags are missing.
I'll give it one more second. First, calling second. Anyone else? Oh yeah, okay, I'll wait. I'll wait a bit more.
More cross-site scripting attempts.
So anyone want to share what is it, their favorite security tool until we'll start? Maybe do like a round of people sharing. Okay, I'm gonna wait 10 more seconds.
49 people, can we get there? Yeah, let's make it 50. Someone dropped off.
We lost one, so.
Yeah, you have to stay connected. That's a live
Okay.
game. Real time.
I'm going to start now, guys.
50, 51.
51, okay, 51, 53, okay. Can I start? Anyone else trying to log in? Awesome, starting. Are you ready? So what does OWASP stand for? You have 13 more seconds. 10, 9, 7, 6. I'm stressing you out a bit. All right, we had some mistakes, unfortunately. This is the OWASP Meetup, guys. So Sean is leading, 913 points. Let's move on to the second one, guys. Now, please try to keep up. So what is the OWASP top 10? 13 more seconds. Come on, we still have some folks not answering. All right, we have 1% selected the green one. I need to find this guy. No, we're not gonna shame anyone, only later. So, I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm gonna say Afi. Okay, so well done. Let's see if this person keeps up, staying first. Which one is a name of a security risk from the OWASP top 10 list? You know, it's everyone's favorite list. You should be easily answering. 3 more seconds, guys. Injection. I still need to find the one that is answering wrong. All right. Effie is keeping up the first place. Let's see who beats him. What is a honeypot? Should be easy breezy, guys. 13 more seconds. All right. A decoy is to lure and study hackers. Now we have 2%, answering the wrong answer. Let's see who leads. Well done, Effie, keeping the first place. I want to hear some cheering, guys. It's not fun. We're a community. Come on. Thank you. This is the level of excitement I want. Now, what is cross-site scripting? Thirteen more seconds. All right. Who is the one answered the round one? Come on. Come on, guys. Yeah, probably the same one. Wow, Effie keeping the first place. Come on, another excitement. Come on. 4 more questions to go. What is the primary purpose of input validation in web security? Ten more seconds. Great. Again, 2 people answered the wrong one. I'm gonna catch these guys. Let's see the board. All right. Effie, I think you're getting closer to the HomePod Mini.
Dan is catching up.
What is the difference between authentication and authorization? 15 more seconds. I see some anxious faces in the crowd. Now, all right, we're getting better. We're getting better. See the scoreboard. Dan just closed up the scores, and Effie is keeping the lead. Come on, another round of applause, please. Please, we all had some drinks today. 2 more questions after this one. What is a 0-day vulnerability? "12 seconds. Now, this is we're getting extremely better this time. See the scoreboard. Effie keeping the lead. Dan is next, and then Cam. Everything is still open, guys. So why is DAST considered an important tool in web application security? Ten more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. This was, downgrade from where we were before. Okay, Effie, whoever you'll be, that's good. And for the final question, what is JIT? Not sponsored by any chance. If you answer this wrong, I'll schedule a one-on-one session with me after this. So you'll never answer this one wrong again. Okay, this is disappointing, guys. 14 people wrong, four more and another 2. Come on. Okay, so we're gonna do a class later on. Yeah, maybe. All right. And the first place, Dan.
Ooh.
Where is Dan? Hi, Dan. Well done. Come on, get your present. Thank you so much for playing. We're here. We're continuing to the bar, correct?
Yes, that's right. We're going to stay in this venue until 9 o'clock for another 15 minutes. Have more drinks, more pizza, whatever's left. I will now show you where we'll be going afterwards. Okay, there was actually music in here. In Kahoot. Right. Let me share my screen. Okay, everyone, just a quick reminder, right? I want to say a big thank you to all our supporters, and let's have a big round of applause to Thought Machine for hosting us tonight. Great venue, great food. We will be going to this pub at 9 o'clock because called Marquis Convalis. It is basically exit this venue, turn left, turn right. You will not miss it. It is just there. All the talks will be published on youtube.com/OWASP London. Our next meetup is going to be on January 16th. Don't miss it. It's going to be a great one. And we'll see you later. Stay safe. Don't forget, you can still collect free proof of attendance NFT from me. See me here or at the pub and scan a QR code from my phone to get the free NFT proving that you were here tonight.